Okay. So VPC. Okay, what we meant about VPC? VPC, yeah, the full form is Virtual Private Cloud, but it is a kind of logical network in AWS. Okay, till now what we have seen so far is whenever we create our account, we started using our AWS account. We then in that particular AWS account we have done few demos where we created EC2 instances, load balancers, and all those things. Okay, so all those resources which we have provisioned so far, they have got launched in AWS in some kind of network. Okay, these are virtual network. See, anything, any resources, any machine, any instances which we normally create, or which which is there, in order to use them, those machines needs to latch to a network, or to attach themselves to a network. Okay, even in our offices or in our colleges, what we have seen, whenever we open our laptops, okay, it gets latch itself to the office network or the college network. This is what we have seen. Or in college, we must have seen the desktops which are there in our labs. Okay, in our computer labs, we have seen that we do have a computer lab, and in that particular lab we have multiple desktops. Similarly, in offices as well, we do have desktops and laptops. Okay, in order to use that particular laptop with internet, or or with the resources inside the office, or with the resources inside the college, we need to first attach that particular resource to a network. Office guys, we normally have a office VLAN. Similarly, in colleges we have a kind of virtual network in college. Okay, so what normally IT guys first do, they first create a virtual kind of network. One second. Okay, so normally IT guys, they first create a network. Whenever they set up anything, they first create a network. So kind of they create a network. Um, just consider in a college, because it will be easy for Manoj to understand. So in a college kind of thing, whenever IT guys has been asked, or whosoever is setting up the network, they have been asked to set up a computer lab, or a kind of entire network for the college. What they normally do, they first create a kind of network for the college. Okay, in that particular network they create few subnets. Okay, like one subnet is for computer department. Okay, for computers. Another subnet could be a possibility that they create it for admin. Okay, so that all those admin guys, they whenever their laptops or their desktops, it will belong to this particular subnet, or a kind of a small it's a subnet is nothing but it's a grouping of grouping of resources. Okay, so Manoj, any idea about subnets? Have you read subnets or IP addresses in your college?
No, sir, I did not read.
Okay, so you must be having networking kind of subject in your college, isn't it?
Networking is
Networking is there. Okay, so in networking you must have read about uh, have you read about any kind of subnetting or something like this?
subnets are there now.
Subnets are there, correct,
Mm.
in networking. So I'm talking about the same thing. Okay, so what exactly the subnet is? Okay, it is a kind of logical grouping. Okay, or a logical grouping of resources. So if I'm saying this particular subnet which I have shown here, it is for admin, it will, so what all people which are in the administration department of your college, their laptops, their desktops will be in this particular subnet only, and they won't be able to access any kind of resources of this particular subnet. Okay, they may be or they may not be, that this is all depending upon the configuration which was done. So could be a possibility that the IT person who has created the college network, he has created it in such a way that all these subnets are isolated with each other. Okay, what all resources, desktop or laptops which are in admin, what are laptops and desktop which are in computer subnet.
computers.
Okay, they cannot communicate to each other. I mean, yeah, in this particular subnet, computer subnet, what all laptops and desktops are there, they would be able to communicate to each other. It is possible because they all belongs to a one particular group or one particular subnet. However, could be a possibility that your IT person have made some kind of configuration that these guys who are in computer subnet, they won't be able to talk to the computers which are in admin subnet, or computers cannot talk to the computers in or resources in computer subnet. Okay, similarly they could have made some kind of teach one more subnet wherein all the teaching staff, okay, like your professors, teachers, okay, they when they use, they will their laptops can be configured in this particular subnet, but there is a communication between this subnet and this subnet. Okay, so these all things normally, it is all type of virtual configuration which they do. It is not like we would be able to see that, okay fine, this is the subnet which can be, if you go into a college and you can find, okay, I am able to find that this is the subnet. You cannot see the subnet, it is not visible. These are all logical configuration. Okay, in the network VPC, the this particular virtual LAN, VLAN, which they normally call it as. Okay, VLAN is basically the logical network of your college or of your office for Rakesh and Shreesh. Okay, inside that particular virtual network, there are multiple subnets for each and every departments. Okay, depending upon their uses and all, could be a possibility that one subnet can be used or shared between two different departments as well. Okay, so it all depending upon the needed. So this is on a very very layman method which I have explained here, that how this particular uh, networking things normally exist in our colleges or in our offices. Okay, in AWS, what AWS has done, they have given this the name of this VLAN as VPC. Okay, so AWS call this particular VLAN as VPC in AWS terminology. So so VPC is nothing, rather it is a virtual private network in in AWS data center. Okay, and why do we need this VPC kind of thing? Because there are multiple different users who are using AWS data centers. They have a lot of different users in their data center who are using the AWS resources. Okay, this particular virtual networking gives a kind of logical segregation between the users. Okay, so one user creating a resource, he is or she is going to create the resource in the VPC which is owned by that particular person. Another user who is going to create the resource is going to create the resources in the VPC of that particular user, so that there is a logical segregations between the VPCs. And you can define multiple security policies in this VPC, so that one VPC of one user cannot communicate to the VPC of another user. Okay, because of the security artifacts which can be put in place in your VPC, because there are multiple security methods which AWS provides, which gives a kind of 99% secure uh, I mean security to the resources which are getting created into your AWS data center. Okay, and that's how they have launched, they have they come up with this VPC concept. It is giving a logical isolation to the resources of the users. So this is VPCs, which normally gets AWS create. So whenever you create a free tier account, you must have seen that by default AWS give a default VPC to you. Okay, So it is not like, everyone has been given a same VPC. So Manoj has created a free tier account, Rakesh has created a free tier account, and both have been assigned same VPC. No, that doesn't happen. When Manoj create an AWS account, the default VPC which Manoj is going to get from AWS is different than the default VPC which Rakesh is going to get. So that what all resources Manoj is going to create, what all resources Rakesh is going to create in that VPC, they will be logically segregate from each other. Could be a possibility they are in the same data center, same AZ, same region. Okay, like Shirish and Rakesh, they both are using Sydney region, and they are both are using they are creating these resources in those three AZs only, which are in Sydney region. Okay, but since Shirish default VPC and Rakesh default VPC are both different, their resources are logically segregated to each other, although they are in the same data center in the same region. Okay, so this VPC is giving a logical segregation, nothing else. And that's why it is very important, because if you are not, if there is no VPC, then a resource which Rakesh is going to create in Sydney region and Sirish is going to create, they both would be able to communicate to each other as well, even though if Rakesh and Sirish doesn't want it to be. Okay, yeah, if you want it to be, then there are ways which AWS provide that two VPCs can communicate to each other. So there are ways which needs to be configured, but those need some kind of specific configurations. Those are not there by default, that two VPC can communicate to each other. If two VPCs we want two VPCs to be communicate to each other, we need to put some kind of configuration in place. It is not by default. Okay, but if there is no VPC, then by default as well, those resources would be able to communicate to each other, whereas the user of those resources doesn't want it to be, and it is not giving a security feature as well to the resources which you are creating in AWS. Okay, so VPC is that particular thing. In VPC, there are subnets. So what you have seen in default VPC in Sydney region, okay, or for Manoj in Mumbai region, you must have seen that there are three AZs. So what is AZ? AZ is nothing but a physical data center. Okay, so it is a physical data center. VPC is basically, it is a logical uh, um, boundary. Could be a possibility that you just want your VPC to exist in across two data center or only across one data center. So it is all depending on you how you are going to create your VPC. Okay, or you want to cover all AZs in that particular region in your VPC. It all depending upon you how you wanted to create your VPC. Okay, but the default VPC which normally AWS gives, it covers all data centers in that particular region. Okay, so whenever you are going to create resource, it is going to create in any of the three data centers in Sydney. Okay, in any of the three AZ of Sydney. On that particular AZ is a data center. Okay, on that particular AZ, now we can create these subnets. Okay, so subnets can be created in those I mean across those AZs. So one AZ can have one subnet for your VPC, can have two subnet for your VPC, can have three subnet for your VPC. You can create as many subnet as you want as per your requirement. But the default one which AWS gives, they gives one subnet per AZ. Okay, this is what, if I will show you the dashboard. Let me just switch to Australia region. See, so this is the default VPC they have created for Australia region. And in this default VPC, there are three AZs: AP South East 2A, 2B, and 2C. And one AZ has one subnet only. Okay, so by default, AWS has created only one subnet per AZ. But when you are going to create your VPC, it is altogether your, you can even create more than one subnet across one AZ. Okay, understood? Okay, fine. So this is about VPC and AZs, okay, and subnets. Now when we create VPC, when we create subnet, we also we also need to define a kind of range, like VPC is nothing, you can say it is an address of your network. So all the address must have a specific unique numbers or something like this. Like this is the address, this is my address, like I live in Pune or Hyderabad or Melbourne, wherever we live. Our address has a number associated with it. Okay. Similarly, what all VPC you going to create, it is going to have some kind of number which we call as VPC ID. Okay. Second, in that particular network, how many resources you wanted to get created. Okay. So how many resources might be, you in your network you want 1,000 EC2 instance to be created. Okay. Or maybe Manoj has a requirement, he just want 10 or 15 EC2 instance to be created. So depending on your requirement, you can define the capacity of the VPC. Okay. That this VPC can hold how many resources. Okay. Which we call as CIDR. Okay. So the capacity of the VPC, which we normally shown in terms of range. So that will be, you will see that how we are defining the range. It will be something like this: 10.0.0.0/16. Okay. So this is basically defining the capacity of that VPC. Okay. When we are writing it like 10.0.0.0/16, we are just defining that this particular VPC which we have created, it is going to contain these many number of IP addresses in it, and one IP address can be assigned to one EC2. Okay. One load balancer, one resources, I mean what all resources we are going to create, all those resources are going are having some IP addresses associated with it. Okay. So whenever we are creating any resources, okay, all those IP addresses are coming on from this range only. What range, what are all range we are defining here. Okay. So you must have seen in this particular exercise. Okay. Like when I'm changing my region to North Virginia, which is normally I use for my demo purpose. So whenever we launch a instance, okay, whenever we launch an instance, so I will show you launching one of the instance quickly. See, this is the default VPC. Okay. If you wanted to see what is the range of this VPC, I mean how much IP addresses can come, or what is the range which AWS has given, you can go onto the dashboard. No, not on the dashboard. Sorry, my bad. In VPC, there is section, we call it as VPC. So there's a default VPC, as you can see, and this is the range which AWS has given. So this is for me 172.31.0.0/16. You would be able to see a altogether different kind of range for you. Okay. For Sirish, it will be different. For Manoj, it will be different. For Rakesh as well, it will be different. So this is something which, when AWS has created a default VPC, has given to me that I am giving you this particular range. What all EC2 or what all resources you are going to create in this particular VPC, okay, that will not exceed the range which AWS has given. This range itself is very huge. I will tell you how to interpret this particular range, how to read this range. I will tell you. Okay. But what they have given, so let me tell you, this range is allowing around 65,536 IP addresses in this VPC. Okay. So this range tells that is giving that much of IP addresses. So they are allowing that if I am going to create, I am going to use this default VPC, I would be able to create 65,536 resources, which is pretty much very high. I never I'm never going to use that many resources. Okay. So so this particular thing we call it as cider. Okay. Now what is the definition of cider? What is the full form of cider? We call it as classless inter-domain routing. Classless inter-domain routing. Okay. So similarly, a range has been defined. Now I wanted to create a kind of subnet in that particular VPC. Okay. So I need to break this range. Okay. The range which is there. So maybe, that was a default case. Now, if when I am going to create my VPC, let's say for my VPC, I have defined this particular range. Okay. So again, this range, with the one which you can see, it can again have 65,536 IP addresses. For computer subnet inside this VPC, I don't, I just need around 100 IP addresses. I know that only there are 100 people who are going to use it. So I just need a small subnet in this particular VPC, which is going to contain only 100 IP addresses. So the range, so again, for this subnet, I'm going to define a range which will be inside this range only, the range which is for the VPC. For subnet, I'm going to define a small range, a kind of subset of the range of VPC, which is going to have around 100 IP addresses. So that range I'm going to define when I'm going to define a subnet. Similarly, for admin, let's say, I have been asked that there will be around 500 people in admin department. So what all subnet I'm going to create, it should have at least 500 IP addresses. So accordingly, I will define a kind of subset of the range for admin subnet, which will be inside this particular range only. Okay. So that is something which I'm going to define for admin subnet when I'm going to create it. Similarly for teaching and so on. Okay. Understood. What is VPC? What is subnet? What are CIDR ranges? Okay. Now how to interpret these ranges? That is a very big thing. Okay. Okay. Now, first of all, 10.10.0, how to read it. This is the IP address. Okay. How to read this IP address? This IP address is basically consisting of 4 octets. Okay, 4 octets. One octet, 2 octet, 3 octet, 4 octet. Okay, so this IP range consisting of 4 octets. Now, what is octet? Okay, now I'm talking about octet. One octet is basically consisting of 8 bits. Okay, so when I'm talking about 10, so I'm showing here 10, how to show 10. Okay, how to read 10, or how to demonstrate 10, how it will it will be seen. So 10 will be something like, bits. So you guys must be aware about bits and all. Manoj, do you know anything about bit, byte? You must have read these things in digital electronics or something in your course.
I did not read for this course.
You have not read digital electronics in your course, in your engineering?
Electronics, no, not is there, sir.
No, yeah, but there must be some kind of, if since you are reading computers, so there might be some kind of a digital thing which subject which will take you through byte, bits, analog, nothing digital. Hmm?
No, sir.
Rakesh Sirish, you knows about bits and bytes?
Yeah, zeros and ones.
zeros and ones. Okay, so in digital electronics or digital world, okay, there are only two numbers which is there, 0 and 1. We cannot have any other number in digital world. Okay, so what all, so this 10 which you can see here, okay, in digital world, how do we show it as? So that is something which we can show in zeros and ones only. But how to show it in zeros and ones? As I said, this is a octet, one octet. Okay, so one octet consisting of 8 bits. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so this is how this particular 10 will be having it is going to have 8 bits. But how to write 10 using 8 bits? So it is not like we can use all 1 and we can write 10. No, this is not like this. Okay, all these bits have one decimal value associated with it, all these bits. Okay, so what are the decimal value of these bits? Okay, so you can consider 2 to the power, where is power, 2 to the power is the very first, is the very decimal number of first bit. Second will be the 2 to the power 1, 2 to the power 2, and so on. 7. Okay, these are the decimal value. Now what is 2 to the power 0? 2 to the power 0 is nothing rather 1. Okay, what is 2 to the power? I'm opening calculator. In calculator, this is my uh, 2 to the power 0 equal to 1. Okay, so 2 to the power 0 is 1. What is 2 to the power 1? It is going to be 2. This is going to be 4. This is 8. This is 16. This is 32, 64, 128. So these are the decimal numbers of these bits. Okay, these are the decimal number of these bits, 1, 2, 4, 8. So you can even convert it from here in this, from this calculator as well. 2 to the power 7 is nothing rather 128. So this is what I have shown here. Okay, so these are the decimal uh, values of these numbers. Okay, of these places. Now to write 10, how to write 10? So 10 will be something like 8 plus 2. This is 10. Or can, or do we have any other kind of combination to represent 10 from this? We can just use 8 plus 2. So how to write 10? So 8 plus 2, so this particular thing will be 0. In 2 we can write 1. Here we can write 0. Here we can write 1, and rest all will be 0. So this is how we show 10. Okay, this is how this 10, this particular uh, first octet can be shown. Okay, understood, Manoj? In digital world, 10 can be written like this in digital world. Okay, and IP address and all those things are basically digital, nothing else. Okay, these are all digital things, these are not analog. Okay, because where digital is going to use, all computers, all microprocessors, they understand only digital terminologies, digital mathematics, or digital, they are all digital, and that's why they only understand this thing only. I mean, these kind of things. Okay, they won't be able to understand, what has, they won't be able to understand 10. If you write 10, they won't be able to understand. You need to give this particular number to your computer, then only your computer would be able to understand. Your microprocessor, which is there, which is there in your computer, would be able to understand. But you may come with an explanation that no sir, this is not the case. I even type 10 and computer is able to understand 10 as well. But it is a user interface which is there, because not everyone understand this particular digital numerology. Not everyone understand. Like Manoj, you don't understand digital numerology, you understand only 10. So there's a user interface which has been given to you where you can write 10, but at the back of the, at the back end, what computer will do, they convert this 10 into this particular thing, and then only they do the computation. Like if you want 10 plus 10, they convert 10 into this particular thing plus again 10, and then they do the addition or subtraction, whatever you wanted to do. And after doing the addition and subtraction, what all results is coming, it will again show in your user interpreted language, like this particular kind of language, so that you would be able to get the 10 plus 10 equal to 20. But at the back end, they change 10 into this particular thing and then do the computation. This is what computers normally do. Okay. And this is how we represent this 10. So as I said, this is one octet. Similarly, this is one octet, this is one octet, this is one octet. For 0, how do we need, how can we show it as? So for 0, everything will be 0. Similarly, if this particular 0, everything will be 0, 0, 0. Okay. Understood? How to interpret this? Okay. Now, so 8 bits, when I'm saying 8 bits, so if I if I made all 1, so so this particular first octet, what can be the range or how many numbers this first octet can support? First octet can support either everything to be 0 or either everything to be 1. Okay. So this can be the first number of one octet, and this can be the last number of an octet. And in between these numbers, we can have as many numbers as we can with different permutation and combination, like 0 1 0 0 0 0 for 1 0 0 0 0 0 0 1 0 0. Okay, 1 1 1 1 0 0 0. So we can have multiple different permutation and combination, but we after reaching to this combination, we cannot have any further permutation and combination. So what we can say that this is the last digit, or this can be the last number of this particular octet, and this can be the first number of this octet. Okay, so if I convert it into decimal, what it will be 0, because everything is 0. And what is the decimal value of this number, of this particular digital number? It will be addition of all these. So what is the addition of all these? 255. Okay, so addition of all these number is 0, and addition of all these number is 255. So one octet can have any number between 0 to 255. So the range of this octet is 0 to 255. Similarly, the second octet can have 0 to 255. Similarly, third, similarly, fourth. Okay. Understood? What is this? Converting into octet, how to read this particular one octet, how to read one octet, what can be the range of this particular octet? Okay, understood? Fine. So if one number can be in the range of 0 to 255, another octet can be in the range of 0 to 255, so on till fourth octet. Okay. Okay, Just that's it. I mean, I don't want to confuse you guys. Okay, so this is what now we are coming to the second thing. When we are saying the 10.0.0.0 slash 16, what does it mean? Okay, what does it mean? Okay, so you understood that this is 8-bit, 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 total 32 bits. Okay, so this entire range is 32 bits. Okay, so one IP address is basically of 32 bits. Okay, so one IP address is of 32 bits. Now this particular 16, what does it mean? Okay, this is an IP address, however this is a range. Okay, so if I'm not putting any slash something, I'm just putting 10.0.0.0, this is a single IP address. Okay, whenever you will find slash 16 slash 32 slash 27 anything, this is not a single IP address, this is showing, I mean this is a range rather. Okay, so just keep this in mind, then that wherever you are seeing this particular kind of thing, it is a range, and we call this range as CIDR, CIDR. So we call it as CIDR, classless interdomain routing. Okay, it's a CIDR range or CIDR block. How to read it as? Okay, this slash 16. Okay, 16 here, it is nothing rather a network prefix. Okay, the 16 is a network prefix. And with this network prefix, what I wanted to mention here is that I'm giving these many bits to the network. So these many bits I'm reserving for the network. I'm not going to use it for my own purpose. I'm going to give these 16 bits to the network, and it will be reserved for network and not going to be available for user. So network prefix, you can write, it shows how many bits in an IP address is going to be reserved for the network. Okay, now how to interpret that how many bits now given for the user, I mean for the host. Okay, so one is network prefix, and second thing comes as host bits. Like, you know, host bit is nothing, how many in this particular range. Okay, in this particular range, how many we are dedicating for network and how many we are giving for the host or for the user, which is going to create resources in that particular range. So that how we normally calculate. So total is 32. If I'm giving 16 to the network, how many has been given to me? 32 minus 16, which is equal to 16. Okay, so total bits minus the one which has been allocated for network equal to the one which has been allocated for host, which is going to be launched in that particular range. Okay, so when I am saying 16, okay, in this particular range, how many uh, IPs can be allocated for my VPC to launch the host, to launch the resources? It will be 16. Understood? So let's say I'm giving you one example. I'm showing 10.0.0.0 slash 20 or 20, yeah, slash 20. Now can you tell me how many are, you know, how many IPs I can uh, how many bits I can use to for my host?
12.
Yeah. So 12 is for host and network will be
20. 20.
20. Network will be 20 and host will be 12. Okay, 32 minus 20 equal to 12. Okay, now these are the bits which are given for us. If I'm talking about how many IPs, okay, so there's a simple formula. Just put 2 to the power 20 here and 2 to the power 12 here. Okay, so what is the answer for this? $4096 here, and for this 1048576. Okay, we don't care about this number because this has been reserved for network. Okay, we just care about how many has been given to host because this is something which we are going to use. Okay, this is going to be fixed for us. Okay, we are not going to use this particular thing, so you can just ignore this. You can just consider this, that if this is the range which is defined, how many IPs or how many EC2 instance or how many resources I'm going to create, which is going to get assigned an IP. So it will be 4096. Okay, so 4096 IPs or EC2 instance I would be able to launch in this particular VPC if my VPC is having this particular range. How many IPs for this particular VPCs which can be, which can be used for this VPC? How many IPs which can be used to
2
create?
to the power of 16.
Yeah. So what is 2 to the power 16? Is it? Six five five three six. Okay, so if this is the range which has been given to my VPC, if this is the range, in this VPC, how many resources I would be able to launch? 65536, 65,536 EC2 instance resources or whatever I'm going to launch, I would be able to launch those many number of resources. Okay, Manoj, you are able to understand?
Yes, sir.
See, I'm going to give few questions to you. Okay, so if you're saying yes, I'm able to understand, then those questions you need to resolve on your own. I'm not going to tell you any answers. Okay, tell me how many IPs available to our so for this particular range, how many IPs are available for host? Now I'm asking IPs. So don't give me bits. Give me the final answer. IPs. Manoj, starting with you. For this particular range, if I'm going to assign it for my VPC to my VPC, in that VPC, how many IPs I would be able to get to launch my EC2 instances?
Twenty-four -24 minus 8. 24 8.
Sorry.
24 8, sir. First 24.
24. Only 24 IPs are available.
No, sir. We have to calculate. No, sir. That.
Calculate it and tell me the final answer. See, 32 is the total bit. How many host bits are possible? First calculate the host bit. First identify the network bit, network prefix. What is the network prefix? 24.
24. 24.
How many are the host bits?
8.
Yeah, 32
8 minus 24 8.
which is equal to 8.
8.
And how many IPs are available? IPs?
24
to the power
bracket
8.
8. We
So what
have
is
to calculate 24, sir. 24.
256.
Uh,
2 to the power 8 equal to 256.
oh,
Understood?
okay, okay.
See, this is the formula which we need to use.
Okay,
Identify
sir.
the network prefix,
Okay.
calculate the host bits, and from host bits calculate the IPs. Understood?
Okay.
Nothing.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Now, one more. Tell me for this.
Host bits network prefix is 22 and host bits is 32 minus 22 is 10. IP is 2 power 10 is what the answer it will come, we have to give.
What
Calculate.
answer? What is the answer? Tell me the answer. Calculate the answer.
Calculate. Here is no calculator, sir. We can do.
In your laptop, there is no calculator. How it can be possible?
Is there,
Just-
sir? How I
Just type Kelsey.
okay, right. I having only screens, sir. Only big screen it is showing over screen.
My screen is showing. Why you are not able to see your screen?
Use a mobile, Manoj. Mobile.
Okay. I use mobile.
But how it is possible that your laptop doesn't have calculator?
Is there, sir?
We couldn't find the square. I mean,
See, on laptop, on computer, you can find scientific standard. So you would be able to see this standard calculator, okay? But you need to click here, go on to the scientific one, and then use
No,
this.
sir. I know, sir, but it is. I have to.
So what is the answer which you are getting?
Now it comes. I have to the options. I have to go to standard, sir.
Scientific.
Oh, scientific. Right. The symbol it is not showing.
X to the power y. This is the symbol which you need to use in
Oh.
scientific.
Okay.
First type
1024, 1024, sir.
1024.
24.
Yeah.
It is correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Understood.
So Sirish, Rakesh, any doubts?
All good.
Yeah,
Sure.
good, Kevin. All good.
Now the tricky thing will come. Now we know that this is one of the range which we can assign to our VPC. So let's say this is our VPC and we have assigned. Okay, fine. We have assigned this particular range /16. Now I need to assign a range to this particular subnet which is going to have 100 IPs. Admin, I need 200 IPs. And teaching, I need 500 IPs. Okay. So I need to, whenever I'm going to define subnets in this VPC, then I have to define a range. You understood how to interpret IPs from a range. Now there's a reverse requirement. I need to define a range from IPs. Okay, I've got a requirement that create 3 subnets. The name of the subnets is computers, admin, and teaching. And those subnet you need to create in such a way that computer subnet can have at least 100 IPs, admin can have at least 200 IPs, and teaching subnet can have at least 500 IPs. Okay, this is the requirement which has come to me. Okay, in AWS world, when you are going to work in real, this may come to you guys as well, wherein you need to define a VPC from scratch. However, in real world, it hardly comes. Okay, all the companies which are in AWS, they are already having their already defined VPCs and subnets. Okay, you don't need to define a VPC or a subnet from scratch. But could be a possibility that a company is recently going to migrate into AWS. Okay, they don't have any existence in AWS, and you are the one who is helping that company to migrate into AWS. You are working for that company and you are working as an AWS administrator. And now uh, you since you are going to move into AWS, that company is going to move into AWS. All their existing resources in on-premise data center is going to be migrated into AWS. So you first understand their on-premise structure, and then you come out with a kind of architecture that, okay, fine, I'm going to define a VPC in AWS which is going to have 3 subnets. I'm going to give the name of the subnet as computer, admin, and teaching. And as per the requirement, computers should have at least 100 IPs. So 100 resources can be accommodated in this particular subnet. It can admin subnet can accommodate at least 200 resources, and similarly teaching can accommodate at least 500 resources. So this is something which now you have been given a task to create in AWS, how to create it. Okay. So what is my requirement? Computers should have 100 IPs. Admin should have 200 IPs. And teaching subnet should have 500 IPs. So these are the name of the subnets. Okay, don't get confused with the names. So these are the subnets. Okay, I need to define the CIDR. I need to define CIDR for this subnets. What is the VPC? Oops, VPC is 10.0.0.0/16. This is the VPC range which has been given to me. Okay. Now, what I know that this is how many IPs this VPC can contain. It can contain 65536 IPs. Okay, these many number of IPs can be possible in this VPC. So this 100, 200, 500 is very small. I mean, I can have any time. Okay, not an issue. Okay. For 100, how can I achieve 100? So since this is 16, so definitely my CIDR will be for, first two bytes will be fixed for this, correct? Because /16 is the range. So network prefix is 16. If I'm saying 16, then first 8 and second 8 is going to be fixed. Okay, we are not going to touch first 2 bits. Okay, so first 2 bits will always be fixed because it is 16. If it was kind of 18, okay, not we cannot have 18. Yeah, we can have 18, but we cannot have less than 16. I will give you some kind of theory, okay, where I will tell you that what AWS recommend, what AWS doesn't recommend. But before it, when this is when I'm saying 16, then whenever I'm defining the IP, these 2 bits will be fixed, which is the network prefix. Okay, I'm just going to manipulate last 2 bits, which is 32 minus 16, which is 16. Okay, I'm just going to manipulate these 2 bits. So since these 2 will be fixed, so my CIDR, the CIDR block of computer admin and teaching subnet, in that particular subnets 10.0 will always be fixed. It will remain as it is. It is not going to be changed. What all things are going to change? The 2 bytes or the 2 octets after 10.0 is going to be manipulated. Okay, and how it is going to happen? For 100 IPs, okay, I will start with 0. Okay, I will start with 0.0 because it is the very first subnet in my VPC. Okay, so very first subnet which is going to be, start from 10.0.0.0 until what number it can go. That is something which I'm going to define. So for 100 IPs, okay, if you see this, okay, 128. Okay, so 1 octet is having, these are the numbers. So if I say 128, I mean, 128 comes when I use 2 to the power 7. So 2 to the power 7 is 128. Okay, so how we need to define it? So if I use 64, okay, which is less than 100, okay, I cannot use 64 which is less than 100. I need to use 128 which is greater than 100. Understood? Because if I use 128, then only 100 would be able to fit into it. When I use 64, 100 won't be able to fit into it because it is less than 100. So I need to use the nearest number, which is 128, because whenever I use 128, 100 would be able to fit into it. For 100, for making it 128, what is the number which I have used? 7. 2 to the power 7 is 128. Understood? So 32 minus 7, which is equal to what? 25. Okay, so this is 25. So what I need to put here is 25. Okay, so if I put 25, okay, how many host bits which can be there? 32 minus 25, which is equal to 7. 2 to the power 7 is equal to 128. So 128 IP, if I define this CIDR block, 128 IPs can be possible. Okay, I just do a reverse calculation to find this particular CIDR. Okay, with the help of this particular thing. Understood? Let's pick this one. Okay, when I'm saying 10,000/25, can you also tell me what will be the first IP address of this range and the last IP address of this range?
First one is 0.1.
10.0 will be fixed. Okay,
Yeah.
first will be 0.0.
The first in subnet, the first will be used for something else. Yeah, Kevin.
I will tell you, but just consider this, that I will
Okay.
pick in later.
Got it. Got it.
But what will be the very first IP of this particular subnet? It is 10.0.0.0. Okay, and what will be the last IP of this range? If it is going to accommodate 128, then 10.0.0.127. Correct? First IP and last IP. Okay, starting from 0 till 127, total will be 128 IPs in this range. My requirement was 100 IPs, so 100 can be easily fit into it. Okay, yeah, there will be few extra, 28 IPs will be extra, which is going to be wasted, but I don't have any other choice. If I would have chosen 64, then I would not have given 100 IPs to the resources which are going to come into the subnet. So to give 100 IPs to the resources which are coming into this computer subnet, I need to choose 128. And whenever I'm choosing 128, as and when 100 IPs will come, those will get IPs assigned to them. 100 resources will get IPs assigned to them, but 28 will always be wasted. But I don't have any other choice. 28, I can accommodate to get wasted. Okay. Now for this. I need 200 IPs. Okay. One octet can accommodate how many IPs?
255.
256. 0 to
255.
255.
Yeah.
Okay. So in one octet, okay, I can have, how many IPs? For example, in one octet, I can have 10.0.0.0 till 10.0.0.255. Okay, this is what one octet can accommodate. Okay, 0 to 255. Okay, 0 to 255. These many IPs one octet can accommodate. I need 200 IPs. So how many IPs now left in this particular octet? If I have already utilized 127, so how many are left? 255 minus 127, which is around 128.
128.
So 128 are left, but I need 200. So is it possible to give 200 in this octet, in this particular range? No.
No.
So what I'm going to do, 10.0. These two will be fixed. I will pick 1. Then 0 slash for 200. 128 plus 64.
186. Yeah. 192.
192. 192. Yeah, 192.
So okay, leave 120. Leave this 128 plus 64. It will be, what will be the next number? 2 to the power
2 to
8.
the power of 5, it's 256. Yeah.
Exactly. So which is 256.
Here we can
Okay.
fit in.
So what I will do, 32 minus 8 is 24. So I can put 24 here. Okay. What will be the first IP? 10.0.1.0 till 10.0.1.255. Okay. This will be the first and last IP of this.
Kevin, what about the, the leftovers in the first one, 10.0.0.127? We have few left there, right?
We have few
Are
left,
they?
but I cannot define two ranges when I'm defining a subnet. What I can do, the leftover 128, if any further subnet requirement come and it has a kind of near to 128 IP requirement, then I can use those.
Okay.
But for 200 I cannot use the leftover 128, because when I'm defining a subnet, I can just define one range. I cannot have two ranges in such a way that 128 will come from the first range and remaining 128 will come from the other range. Okay, I cannot have that particular thing whenever I'm defining. I will going to define a subnet. Okay.
Yeah.
Now for this, let me 32 minus 7, 25. Okay. I will share this sheet with you. Don't worry. Okay. Now this one.
Yeah. /16 this one. I think so. Guess.
This is 23.
For this I need
That's
to use 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Dot 0 slash
23.
23. Yeah. So 2512. Yeah. So 32 minus 9, which is 23, and 2 to the power 9 is 512. Okay. Here what will be the IP? Here we need to find the IP. So the very first IP will be 10.0.2.0, and the last IP will be for this range. What will be the last IP?
255 or 255.
No. That is 5. Sorry, no. 255. I think 255. 3.
Okay.
Okay.
It
We
will
dot
use 0
increase.
to 25 full range, and then
Hmm.
3 0 to 255 full range.
Okay. Because we have only 255
Yeah.
bits.
Understood? Let's do few more exercise. Now calculate this. I need this as well. Tell me these three things. So this is going to be shared by Sirish, then Manoj, then Rakesh. And try it in such a way that we don't waste much IPs. This is a very simple thing. The one which I have shown, it is very complicated thing. Okay, but this is very simple.
First one is 10.0.0 slash 27.
How many zeros?
0.0 slash 27.
27. Okay. Okay, what is the first IP and last IP?
10.0.0 and 10.0.0.31.
Good. Manoj. Sirish and Rakesh, you can also calculate it.